So, what exactly is a Scarebnb? I asked Charlie, who was at the wheel, steering us down the winding road. The leaves had just begun to change, painting the countryside in vibrant hues of red and gold. Charlie chuckled, glancing at me through the rearview mirror. "It's an Airbnb that's haunted," he replied. "A night of chills and thrills for anyone brave enough to stay." Maya chimed in from the passenger seat. I scoffed, leaning back and kicking my feet out the window. My friends had taken me to plenty of haunted houses and scare zones before. I appreciate the artistry and effort that goes into those places, but I've always struggled to call any of them scary. "This one's different," Maya quickly cut me off before I started on my soapbox. Charlie chuckled as he navigated a bend in the road. "This time, Darius, you might be in for a surprise," he said cryptically. Maya reached back and handed me her phone so I could peruse the ad. "Yup, this Scarebnb is brand new, so it doesn't have any reviews yet, but the pictures are gorgeous." I briefly scanned the ad. The house seemed pretty old but well taken care of. There were some obvious renovations on parts of the house, which gave me hope for a hot shower later that night. We finally arrived as the sun dipped below the horizon, turning the sky from crimson to a bruised purple. This cast an eerie glow over the property as we drove through the large front gate and parked. We grabbed our bags as a tall figure emerged from the house. "Welcome," he bellowed as he approached. He looked like he had just stepped off a vintage movie set with his piercing blue eyes and perfectly coiffed blonde hair. "Who's ready for a night of fright?" Charlie and Maya exchanged glances as Mr. Alistair, the owner of the house, introduced himself and handed me the keys to the place. "I'm already terrified," I replied sarcastically. If I were to be honest, I was more unsettled by the owner than the house, with his perfect white smile and unnerving stare. Landlords are creepy at the best of times, and this dude was no exception. "Enjoy your stay," Mr. Alistair said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He then promptly left in a car worth more than my apartment. We quickly gathered our bags and stepped inside. A cozy sitting room with a fireplace was just past the entryway. I sat my bags there while Maya and Charlie ran off to claim their rooms, and I began to explore. The house was sparsely decorated but neat. Besides the upstairs bathroom, which was completely renovated, the rooms all had antique furniture, and there were plenty of rooms. The house was enormous. I spotted an unclaimed bedroom next to the renovated bathroom and made a mental note as I headed back downstairs. I found Maya and Charlie in the kitchen ordering pizza. On the kitchen table sat a dusty board game box. I cringed reading the title. A Ouija board? Really? Maya pulled out a creaky chair and plopped down beside me. "What's wrong? Scared?" My mother's voice rang like an alarm through my head. "Don't you mess with any of that Ouija board devil shit." I chuckled. "Nah, I'm good." Maya began to set up the board. The box was old, but inside it looked like everything had been mostly unused. The Ouija board itself folded apart, and a small instruction booklet fell out, written by the toy company that made it. I bit my tongue and tried not to laugh as Maya snatched up the booklet. Charlie peered over her shoulder. "Phew, glad everyone here is at least 14. Maya smacked him with the booklet. "Go turn out the lights." Laughing, Charlie went to work, while Maya and I finished setting up. The candles around the table cast flickering shadows on the walls as Charlie rejoined us. "My brave companions," Maya began, her voice eerie and theatrical. "The house we're staying in tonight has quite the history. It was once owned by a rich recluse named Sir Reginald Grimshaw. Sir Reginald had a fondness for the occult." I grinned. "Nice, very satanic panic." Maya ignored me as she leaned in to whisper. "Exactly 50 years ago today, Sir Reginald performed a dark ritual that ended with him taking his own life. Some say his presence still lingers, searching for his next sacrifice." I raised an eyebrow and gestured to the Ouija board. "And you want to try to contact Sir Reggie?" "Sir Reginald," Maya corrected quietly as Charlie nodded. We placed our fingers lightly on the planchette, and this time, Charlie took charge, his voice serious. "Is there anyone here with us? Sir Reginald, if you're listening, please give us a sign." I suppressed an eye roll as the planchette began to move beneath our fingers. It glided first over the letter Y, then OU, and on until it spelled out a chilling message. "You will all die tonight." Ding dong! Charlie and Maya screamed as the incredibly loud doorbell rang out. I let out a hearty laugh that I'd been holding in as I excused myself to get the pizza. Surprisingly, by the time I got back to the table, my friends were still just sitting there quietly, faces pale. I scooted over the Ouija board and sat the pizza in the center of the table. "We should stop," I said firmly. "It's just a silly game. Let's put the board away and enjoy the rest of the night." Maya gave a faint smile as she nodded and began to put the contents of the Ouija board away. Charlie set it back on the shelf, and we moved on with our night. We watched a scary movie and ate pizza until we could barely move upstairs and pass out. I awoke to strange noises in the middle of the night. The only sound at first was the soft creak of the old house settling. But then I heard it, a faint scratching, like nails against wood. I tried to ignore it and go back to sleep, but my ears strained themselves to better discern the source of the eerie sound. The scratching persisted, growing louder. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end, so I quickly sat up, the mattress creaking beneath me. The scratching intensified, and a whisper of movement accompanied it now, like something slithering beneath the floorboards. I fumbled for the lamp and quickly turned on the light. Quiet. The scratching had stopped, but I was still creeped out by the idea that there might be mice or rats under the floor. Unable to shake the feeling of tiny things crawling all over me, I headed to the bathroom to take a hot bath. I heard a commotion and assumed that one of my friends was in the bathroom, so I almost passed it by. But then, a sharp slam stopped me in my tracks. I peered through the crack in the open door, using the reflection of the mirror to survey the bathroom. To my surprise, Mr. Alistair was there, his face contorted with rage as he drowned a man in an antique clawfoot tub. I flung the bathroom door open, ready to confront him, but the room was empty. There wasn't even a clawfoot tub, only an alcove housing the newly installed combination shower and bath. I looked from side to side, chuckling nervously. "Get it together," I muttered to myself. A gurgle from the sink stopped me in my tracks. Viscous crimson liquid bubbled up from the drain, coating the bottom of the sink. I peeked over the edge and froze. There, staring up at me from the drain, was a face. Its features were contorted in agony, blood pouring from its mouth and nose, a grotesque fountain of horror. Stumbling back in disbelief, I knelt down and whipped open the cabinets beneath the sink. I half expected to find Charlie with his face pressed up against the underside of the drain, but there was nothing, just pipes. Fear beginning to gnaw at me, I peered back over the edge of the sink. Nothing. I wasn't even halfway back down the hallway towards my room when I heard a scream from downstairs. I realized in that moment this must be Charlie and Maya's doing. I took a deep breath and calmly descended the stairs. "Wow, y'all are going all out," I called out uncertainly as I headed to Maya's room. "Did you have to pay extra for all the special effects?" But any smile I had on my face vanished as the door swung open, revealing a devastating sight. Maya hung from the ceiling, her lifeless body swaying gently. Her face was purple, and her throat was slit, the blood coating her clothes and dripping off her toes to a pool below. On the wall, written in her blood, were the chilling words, "You will all die tonight." The smell was nauseating. As a cold sweat broke out on my forehead, I stepped back from Maya's lifeless form, my mind refusing to accept the gruesome scene. I looked away and turned back, but every time she was still there, swinging from the ceiling. I knew I had to get her down, but another scream interrupted my thoughts. "Charlie!" I yelled as I took off upstairs. Logic and reason were out the window at this point. I had no idea what was going on or who was behind it, but I needed to get us the hell out of this house to get help for Maya. Pushing open the door, I found Charlie's room empty. The bed was untouched, and the window was wide open, curtains billowing in the cold night breeze. Just then, a blood-curdling scream echoed from outside. I rushed to the window and looked out. In the moonlit darkness, I saw Charlie tied to a pyre of wood, his body writhing in pain. A hooded figure stood before him, chanting in a language unknown to me. The pyre was ablaze, flames dancing hungrily around my friend as he screamed for help. Fear and adrenaline coursing through me, I knew I had to act fast. I darted downstairs, my mind a whirlwind of panic and desperation. As I burst through the front door, the sight that greeted me was something out of a nightmare. The pyre was now fully engulfed in flames, and Charlie was charred and motionless. The hooded figure had vanished into the shadows, leaving behind only the smell of burning flesh and wood. I had to keep moving. I sprinted to the car, praying to every deity I could think of. I reached the car and could have shed tears of joy as I found the keys still in the ignition. But as I turned the key, the engine remained silent. Panic gripped me as I tried again and again, the car stubbornly refusing to come to life. No, come on, I pleaded. I didn't notice the hands slipping around my throat until it was too late. My heart dropped as through the rearview mirror, the hooded figure stared at me from the back seat, his hands squeezing my throat. I struggled away, terror coursing through me as I threw the door open and fled from the car, screaming. My mind was reeling from the horrors of the night as my knees threatened to buckle. I was going to die. I was really going to die. My mom was right. I never should have messed with a Ouija board. But just then, out the front door came running Maya and Charlie, their phones recording and flashes of light snapping away. Relief washed over me as I saw them, giving way to confusion and then disbelief. "Surprise!" they exclaimed, grinning beneath their grotesque makeup. Maya's face was still a nasty purple, and Charlie's skin looked crispy. "What the fuck, you guys?" I screamed, a mixture of laughter and frustration building inside me. They had played me like a fiddle. Charlie winced guiltily before continuing. "Last Halloween you said that you wanted to be genuinely, authentically scared. There was no way that was going to happen unless you thought it was real." "You definitely outdid yourselves," I managed to say between gasps of air, trying to catch my breath. "You really got me good. But who was—" I gestured to the car, where the hooded figure was just getting out. They exchanged triumphant glances as Mr. Alistair removed his hood. With a sheepish shrug, he approached and clapped me on the back. "Apologies if I got carried away. Were you scared?" "Nah," I lied. Maya held up 2 phones, hers and mine. "Well, I have photos and videos that say otherwise." I shrugged. "Guess so. There's one thing I gotta know. Is there a Sir Reginald?" This produced a hearty laugh from the group. I praised Mr. Alistair for all of his efforts before he left. Then I smugly snacked on leftover pizza while I watched my friends clean up the aftermath of their prank. I awoke the next morning still on the couch, but I wasted no time gathering my things, waking my friends and heading to the car. Logically, I knew that there was nothing wrong with the house, but I still didn't want to spend another second there if I didn't have to. "So where should we stop for breakfast?" Maya asked, yawning. I shrugged, trying to distract myself with the prospect of food, but the feeling of unease in my gut persisted. I knew logically that my friends had never been in any danger, but I couldn't shake off the feeling of Mr. Alistair's fingers around my throat, or the guilty look in his eye when I mentioned what I saw in the bathroom.